Welcome to the update for the month of May. So we're in the month of May, looking back in April. My name is Tim, and just a really quick opportunity to update you on what's happening behind the scenes as always. Church, this is an exciting month. It's exciting because we have seen God being so faithful as he always has, but this month is really exciting. We're going to get into the numbers. We're going to have an interview with Carleen, and she's going to kind of share her heart for ministry with children. And then we have an update from Diane in terms of what's happening in her world and mission. So let's get right into it. This is an exciting month for the month of April. Okay, so for the month of April, we had budgeted $148,000 coming in for on our general. Again, this is general numbers. Our actual, get this, our actual was $175,000. That's 118% of what we had originally expected. So church, well done. Thank you. This is amazing. This is incredible. This is God at work. Thank you for the obedience, and thank you to God for all the work that he's doing in his church. The expenditures this month, we had budgeted for 159, and we'd actually realized 144. So we gained a whole bunch on the revenue, and actually we decreased on expenses. So before we had expected an $12,000 loss, we actually have $30,000 ahead. This is incredible. This is God's provision. I'll tell you why. So this is our year to date, and as we all know, year to date in December, we just had it was a really hard month. We didn't see come in what we thought and expected to come in, so we weren't sure how we're going to do this year. But this has been one of those months where we've just kind of jumped up and made some headway in terms of coming to the year end. So where are we actually at with our operating results for the year to date? So far, year to date, we had budget for $1.6 million. Our actual income has been $1.6 million. Give or take a few thousand there, but overall, we've seen a huge dramatic shift in those numbers. The expenditures, we're seeing 1.6 had been budgeted. Now, for this one, we are seeing 1.4 for the expenditures, and part of that is the capital campaign, which flows into that. But overall, we've seen just a significant lift in this month for the end of the year. So if we're looking to the end of this year, if we're looking outwards, what would this year look like at the end of the year? We are projecting anywhere between a balanced budget to a negative $43,000 where we're going to land at the end of the year. That's a wide range. It's a big range, but we're believing that God will provide. And so, church, thank you for partnering with us. Thank you for trusting us with your finances and your resource, your time, talent, and treasure. Awesome. If you have any questions and you'd like, in terms of what's going on, we're going to have some changes happening in the parking lot. We're going to repave that here shortly. We're in the queue. There's some other things going to be happening here in the building that need to be done. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at timh@ksc.ca. We're going to move into the interview with Carleen, and then finally, we're going to have an update from Diane. Welcome, KC family. This is, again, just one more opportunity for us to be able to connect with our staff. I know when we first started this, the reason we did this was really just be able to bring you behind the scenes in terms of our staff. Often people ask, what keeps us busy here on staff? And so the idea was just be able to sit down a few minutes with our staff members and just be able to have an opportunity to ask them questions. So today we're sitting with Carleen, Pastor Carleen, who is in charge of our children's ministries. Carleen, thank you. Thank you for coming for just a few moments and sharing with us just kind of what you do and kind of how you do it. So to get into all that, how long have you been in this role for, and kind of how did you get here?
Okay, well, I've been in the children's pastor role for, 5 years now, a little over 5 years. But I have been on staff for almost 8. It'll be 8 in September. And so I came about here. I started off as volunteering in children's ministry. We started attending the church, and I looked and said, I need to get involved and be a part of what my kids are doing. And so I volunteered for quite a few years, for 5 years. And then, a role opened up as a children's ministry coordinator or assistant, I think it was. And I applied, and they saw something in me and hired me on staff.
Why kids ministries? I mean, there's so many other things that happen, but what drove you or what pulled you towards this ministry in particular, and now being on staff in this ministry?
Yeah, so I have just always desired to work with children. It's been a passion of mine. I started babysitting at 10 years old. I still remember the first time when I was like 5 or 6 years old, a baby put their head on my shoulder and I just my heart melted. And so I've always had a desire to work with children. Coming out of high school, it was looking at teaching, but started my own family, which of course is a work in itself. But that was the pull of a children's ministry position.
So you're in the role overseeing children's ministry today. Other than Sundays and Saturday nights, that's pretty much it, right? There's not really much else that you kind of do, or walk us through your week.
Yeah.
What's in your role that we probably don't know about what's in your role?
Yeah, so you wouldn't know how administratively heavy children's ministry actually can be when it comes to scheduling volunteers and filling holes and screening volunteers, meeting with volunteers to help build them up and to give them the resources they need to lead all the kids. And then there's all the lesson writing that gets done. We write lessons that line up most of the time with what is being taught right here in what we call Big Church. And so to do that, it's not a plug and play lesson that you can find from any curriculum. We either are scouring resources to find one that fits, or we are writing from scratch ourselves and putting a lesson together that the kids can understand at their level.
Yeah, it's neat. I as I've seen over the years, it's funny when, let's say, Chris is preaching on a Sunday and he's got his desk full of commentaries and books and whatnot. I'll walk over to your office and you'll most likely have the exact same commentaries and books out open with that. So it is neat that actually there's an alignment there with what's happening in Big Church, as you say, in the little kids. Again, there is so much that's happening that behind the scenes that we don't know about. What's kind of one thing or a couple things that really most of us wouldn't know about your role or wouldn't know about what happens behind the scenes that maybe are just things that go hey, that's interesting?
Yeah, I think probably two kind of things there. One is that children's ministry isn't just childcare, which we're kind of talking about there, that we are teaching these kids biblical lessons. We are building into them spiritually, the spiritual formation, partnering with families that they are raising their kids to know Jesus. And I think the other one is that, when it comes to running a children's ministry these days, is that you have to bring on people who are fully screened. It's not just, someone who's been attending the church for a few months and wants to come walk in the door and help in the nursery or with the preschool kids. They have to get screened and trained. It's not like this, small churches, you might see that still happen, but it's not the church of 15, 20 years ago where someone can just come in. And so there's a lot of work behind bringing someone on in that role.
And we've talked about this, Plan to Protect is a big part of that. Part of what we do is want to create safe spaces for kids to be. And I think, again, Plan to Protect is a big portion of that. It takes a lot of time. And even that administrative piece that you talked about, yes. Some of it gets soaked up in even just the logistics of making sure that the kids are safe. Yes,
absolutely. So Plan to Protect is a course that we do ourselves here as staff members. Elders do it. But then all of the volunteers who work with children, youth, and the vulnerable sector will run through Plan to Protect. And it just helps teach us how to create those safe spaces and helps us put those protocols in place that are keeping the kids safe as well.
And we're going through a strategic plan, and we've kind of just crystallized the objectives for the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe just give us a window in how that plays itself out in what you see in terms of the ministry that you're involved in. How does that play out in the next 3 to 5 years? What's your vision? What's your heart? What's your desire?
Yeah, my heart is just for, the biggest desire for me, of course. And I think that for any of the parents out there and any of you other adults is just that the kids know Jesus and they know that he loves them. That just fits right in with the mission, vision, values of the church of just knowing Jesus and making him known. We desire to see kids who confidently leave children's ministry and know how to use their Bibles so that they can grow spiritually on their own independent time, and that they are prayer warriors, that they will go out there and they wouldn't be afraid to step in and pray with someone one day, but also that they can share their story with people. And we want those to be boring stories, but we want them to be able to share about who Jesus is with their friends and their neighbors and just have that confidence in them.
You're often in the back. You're often in right behind us here in Children's Ministry, so we often don't get to see you. But as we're here in Big Church and you're there with the kids, how can we be praying for you? What can we be praying for? What's on your heart? What's been stirring in you lately?
Oh, I just think that God is doing just amazing things. Right now, we are seeing so many new families coming in the door. So I think that a big part of that is that, praying for the right people to step forward to lead those kids, because as new families join us, we need more people to be a part of the ministry, but also just praying that we're leading them well and that we're writing those lessons that are going to impact the kids. Yeah.
Thanks for everything you do. It's such a gift. Like I said, I know that you're often writing lessons and you're working away. There's so much work that goes into the Saturday and Sunday morning. So thank you for you and even just the whole ministry team for the work you guys do. You're loved and appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Diane Down, the pastor of missional engagement here at KAC. Most missions work doesn't happen on a weekend at church, so it can feel a little invisible. I'm happy to bring you an update on the work we're doing outside the walls of our church building. You may have already heard about our upcoming Pine House trip. After we met the ladies who came to our Us Together conference last year, together we explored ways that we could further the relationship we started. The result of those conversations was a 3-year commitment for a youth exchange with the Christian Fellowship in the village of Pine House, Saskatchewan. The population of Pine House is 1,500 people, over half of which are under the age of 26, and yet the church we are working with currently have no youth attending. So, we are partnering with them to build friendships and offer events in the community that might spark an interest in spiritual things. There are 9 youth and 4 adults from KAC going at the end of June. We'll have 3 training sessions to prepare for our ministry by developing our own team, building cross-cultural understanding, and preparing our hearts for service. We're also in early preparations for the Pine House youth to come here in August. We've heard loud and clear they want to experience and play in our mountains, so we're planning our activities accordingly. There is opportunity for you to be involved to help us host the Pine House youth. We would greatly appreciate your prayers for this work. You can sign up to pray, financially support, and be involved in hosting on our website. As for work here in our parish, I want to highlight 2 things. Did you know that we have monthly services at Overlander Residential Care? Once a month, there's a rotating team of people who bring a devotional, sing, and play music with the residents, and they've let us know they deeply appreciate our ministry of presence there. Over the past number of months, we've been slowly and intentionally growing a street outreach ministry people of about 4 to 6. Once or twice a week, they go out to deliver food, talk, and pray with folks and share Jesus with people around the Tronquil corridor. We are part of a movement of several churches involved in this work. Recently, these volunteers were featured in a CBC Daybreak radio interview highlighting a different approach to meeting the needs of our brothers and sisters on the street with Jesus, not only harm reduction. We honestly don't know what the future of this ministry looks like. For now, the folks who have sensed God calling them to be on the streets are being obedient to go out. The news for global ministry is that we're in the early stages of building a discernment strategy for KAC's global priorities, potential partnerships with agencies, and international workers. If you're excited about being part of KAC's global reach, send me an email or complete a serve form on our website and check the box that says Global Missions Team. In the meantime, pray with us as we discern our global priorities. Thanks for your time and prayers.